Practice begins with the recognition that life unfolds along two intertwined currents. One follows linear cause and effect where actions lead to predictable outcomes. The other operates through meaning rather than mechanism, revealing itself through coincidence, symbol, and timing that feels significant. What is often called manifestation occurs when these two currents begin to resonate. The aim is not to dominate events, but to bring inner orientation into coherence with this deeper order, allowing life to respond in meaningful ways. The first movement of the practice is conscious orientation. Desire is treated not as a superficial wish, but as a signal of inner change seeking expression. An intention should be stated clearly, then examined for what it implies about identity. Every genuine desire points toward a way of being, not merely an external result. One must consider whether the fulfilled state represents growth or avoidance. When an intention aligns with deeper psychological movement, it carries energy. When it is driven by fear or imitation, it tends to fragment or stall. Once orientation is clear, the intention must be impressed beyond rational thought. Deeper layers of the psyche respond not to logic, but to image, emotion, and symbol. For this reason, intention is embodied rather than repeated mentally. This may take the form of imagining oneself within a scene that expresses the fulfilled state, or translating the intention into a simple symbolic act. What matters is emotional authenticity. Feeling acts as the carrier, allowing intention to take root beyond conscious thought. After this transmission, restraint becomes essential. A common failure of intentional practices lies in the need to monitor and control outcomes. Here, the required discipline is trust rather than effort. Once the intention has been clearly oriented and emotionally impressed, it must be released from constant evaluation. This is not passivity, but non-interference. The stance cultivated is one of quiet inevitability, an underlying sense that something meaningful is already in motion. Doubt, when it arises, is understood as a reflex of the mind's demand for certainty rather than evidence of failure. What follows is attentive receptivity. Life responds through coincidence, interruption, repetition, and chance encounter. These events are not instructions, but communications, a conversation that arrives at the right moment, an obstacle that redirects rather than blocks, or a symbol that repeats across unrelated contexts may all carry significance. The task is to notice without grasping. Interpretation should remain provisional, guided by resonance rather than certainty. When an event feels charged, when it seems to require response rather than analysis, action is called for. Such actions often feel slightly irrational, yet precise. Over time, this exchange forms a feedback loop. Each meaningful response builds confidence grounded in experience rather than belief. Orientation becomes more refined, emotional transmission more economical, and trust less strained. Coincidences may not increase in number, but they gain clarity. One becomes more fluent in the language of timing and symbol, better able to distinguish genuine alignment from anxious projection. No practice of this kind functions without confronting resistance. When intentions repeatedly stall or unravel near fulfillment, the cause is rarely external. Such patterns often indicate unacknowledged fear or disowned aspects of the self that would be exposed by change. This inward work is not a detour, but a condition of progress. Without it, the same conflicts reappear in altered form. Ultimately, the purpose of this practice is not control, but participation in a meaningful order. Life is not treated as a machine responding to correct inputs, but as a responsive field that communicates through pattern and timing. When intention is clear, emotionally coherent, released from domination, and met with attentive response, one finds less resistance to events. What arrives may not match the imagined form, but it carries the unmistakable sense of rightness that marks true alignment. The essential question, then, is not whether reality responds, but whether one has learned to listen well enough to recognize the response. When it arrives,